As you can see in those side-by-side maps, you see some of those blue spots fade away into gray, and some of the gray turn to red. That means that those previously very competitive seats are going to become safely Republican, and Democrats are going to fight just to have the kind of representation that they've had. It means almost certainly you're going to lose one or even two Black House Democratic members of Congress.
What you're seeing there is a breakdown of what Ron DeSantis's plan was when it came to redistricting Florida. So as in many states, the Florida legislature is supposed to, every 10 years with the product of the census, figure out, okay, what's our change in population? How exactly are we supposed to split up and delegate political power? That's what they say they do. Mainly it's how can we possibly wring more influence out of this? And that is how they generally do it. Definitely all the Republicans and a lot of the Democrats too don't care about whether the districts they create are representative or whatever. They just want more power. In Florida though, they decided to go a step further. It wasn't good enough to have one party choose all the districts. They decided, let's just let Ron DeSantis do it. And they literally just gave it to that one guy. That was their plan. And he created a map that was so mad, it was too radical for the legislature to do. Florida Republicans wouldn't have come up with this, but Ron DeSantis did. The good news though, is that a Florida trial court judge just yesterday blocked that congressional map. In particular, not just because it was going to give a whole bunch of added unearned political power to Florida Republicans, but it was considered to be racially biased. So I want to run you through a little bit of what Judge Layne Smith said. Said it's unconstitutional under Florida's Fair District Amendment because it reduces the impact of 370,000 Black voters in 8 mostly rural counties. The judge said it diminishes African Americans' ability to elect the representative of their choice. Interestingly, Smith was appointed by Ron DeSantis, says he's going to issue his formal ruling this week, noting that timing is crucial. Candidates hoping to run in the state's 28 congressional districts face a June 17th qualifying deadline. That's happening in a lot of states, by the way. They're like live adjudicating these maps as people are literally running in maybe one district, maybe it'll end up being a different one. That makes campaigning a little bit awkward. But anyway, what they did effectively, Ida, wasn't just switch. Like I gotta remind people, Florida is like everybody thinks of it as like a hard red state, and it elects Republicans a lot. It was incredibly close. Like Ron DeSantis very narrowly won. It is effectively a 50-50 state. But that's not how the congressional representation works out, even before this map. And it was going to be even more biased towards the Republicans. But that wasn't good enough for Ron DeSantis. He wanted even more. And along the way, he wanted to effectively annihilate 3 congressional districts that historically have sent African American politicians to Congress. So he did all of that. And at least for now, that map isn't going to go forward, although of course it could be appealed.
Well, I know that Hurricane Maria had a big impact on the voting in Florida because a lot of those Puerto Ricans came to Florida, to Central Florida, to seek refuge after what happened after the hurricane. But this is what I say to all of the Black and brown people in the state of Florida, the state that I grew up in. Every single one of you should vote against Ron DeSantis because regardless of what your political affiliation is, he tried to take away your vote. So even if you consider yourself Republican and conservative, this guy is trying to silence you and take your vote away. So I would say that if you want to get rid of this guy, since the racist people, racism isn't a deal breaker for some of the people that are there. But if you are Black and brown and you live in these rural areas, if you are in the Ghouls, Homestead, Palatka, Ocala, wherever you are in Florida, and whatever you register in terms of where you are fiscally or socially, whatever it is, he tried to take your vote away from you. You don't matter to him. And that's why I talk to people who are people of color who want to identify with this Republican Party so badly because of their conservative views. What they are standing on is directly opposed to your freedom. And that doesn't mean that I think that the Democrats are any better. But I would get rid of the person who says you don't have a vote, you don't have a right to speak. He wants to silence you altogether. And that's why you shouldn't vote for him. I know nobody in my family is gonna vote for him. And people there, I have conservative people in my family.
Yeah. Well, I would be careful what you say publicly about him. He could be our president or perhaps king at some point. Ron DeSantis, he certainly sees that in his future. Now, the trial court judge has blocked this. Of course, it's going to be appealed. It could end up going to the state Supreme Court, which, like with Smith being appointed by DeSantis, is now even more tilted towards conservatives because of the people that Ron DeSantis has put it on. And let's say that it gets appealed past that to the Supreme Court. Well, that also, thanks to the undemocratic nature of our presidential elections as well as our Senate, is tilted towards the conservatives. At no step of this process do the people with power have a majority of the population that agrees with them on any of this, but they have control of all of those steps. Isn't it amazing that that's the way that works out? But think about how this works in practice. So Ron DeSantis very narrowly beats out a candidate to become governor. That candidate, by the way, was a black candidate. He beats him. He then stuffs the court with conservatives who are going to allow him to annihilate a currently held by an African-American candidate district. It's amazing how they can do this all along the way and pass laws that are gonna make it more difficult for them to vote. Like in Florida, they already have this amendment specifically because the people didn't like the way gerrymandering was being done. And this has happened in multiple states, and the legislatures and the governors just don't listen to it. Like, there's nothing we can do to get through to them that we think it's insane that this is how our politicians are picked. The system just continues.
Yeah, and we don't pay attention to, there's so much propaganda because a lot of people are just out here grifting, as we say, and just capitalizing on people's pain and ignorance. So you have all these activist people that are telling you, hey, the Democratic Party is bad, the Republican Party, they're all bad. Historically, none of them have really been good for people of color because here we are still fighting for our basic rights. But there is a lesser of two evils because when you try to silence people altogether, then you really don't have anything in the fight. And so we have to use critical thinking, which they don't want us to use because there's a war against education in this country as well. And they label it as being elitist, which they destroyed the education system for gain and profit. And now they criticize you for having an education, which is all bizarre and something else altogether. But the reality of it is that some of these people don't see you as a human being. They don't see us as human beings, and they're trying to take our votes and our rights for profit and gain and power. And it should be off with their figurative heads.
For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.